are going to tell a story of Saint Teresa of Avila.
Saint Teresa was born in Avila, Spain on March 28, 1515. Her parents were Alonso de Chapada and Beatriz Davila y Ahumada. Teresa had 10 siblings, as well as a stepbrother and a stepsister from her father's previous marriage.
Teresa was brought up by her saintly father. Her tender and pious mother, Beatriz, was especially keen to raise her daughter as a pious Christian. As a child, Teresa was fascinated by accounts of the lives of the saints.
When she was 5 years old, she convinced her older brother Rodrigo that they should, as she says in her life, go off to the land of the Moors and beg them, out of love of God, to cut off their heads there. Then, at the age of 7, she ran away from home with her brother to find martyrdom among the Moors. They got as far as the road from the city before her uncle found them and brought them back. Because their plans failed, they decided to become hermits and spent hours in an imaginary hermitage in their garden. At the age of 14, her mother died, and she later wrote of her sorrow in these words.
As soon as I began to understand how great a loss I had sustained by losing her, I was very much afflicted. And so I went before an image of our Blessed Lady and besought her with many tears that she would vouchsafe to be my mother.
Teresa grew into a sophisticated and beautiful young woman. Yet, her interest changed because of the worldly influences around her. Visits from a girl cousin were most welcome at this time, but they had the effect of stimulating her interest in superficial things. She became fond of gossiping, fairies, knights, and fashion.
Hey, look at that disgusting thief over there.
I heard that woman stole eggs from the farm.
Ew, disgusting, ugly thief.
If everyone just had my beautiful face, everybody would be happy.
Hey you! Yeah, get a life.
Teresa's father decided to place her in a convent of Augustinian nuns in Avila, where other young women of her class were being educated. At first, she hated it, but eventually she began to enjoy it, partly because of her growing love for God, and partly because of the convent was a lot less strict than her father.
I knew it. I belong in the convent. It is my calling.
However, owing to illness, she left the convent at the end of 18 months, and for some years, remained with her father and occasionally with other relatives, notably an uncle who made her acquainted with the letters of St. Jerome.
At home once more, and fearing that an uncongenial marriage would be forced upon her, she began to deliberate whether or not she should undertake the religious life. Reading the letters of St. Jerome helped her to reach a decision.
She was determined to adopt the religious life, not so much through any attraction towards it, as through a desire of choosing the safest course. For her, being a nun didn't seem like much fun, but she thought that it was the only safe place for someone as prone to sin as she was.
Unable to obtain her father's consent, she left his house unknown to him on November 1535 to enter the Carmelite convent of the Incarnation at Avila.
No, I do not approve of this.
But it is my calling.
No, I highly oppose this rash decision of yours.
I'm sorry, Father, but this matter can no longer be discussed. I am going whether you approve it or not.
She spent a number of relatively average years in the convent, punctuated by a severe illness. When she had a seizure, People were so sure she was dead that after she woke up 4 days later, she learned that they had dug a grave for her. Eventually, Teresa fell ill with malaria, which left her legs paralyzed for 3 years and was never completely well.
I am sick. May I excuse myself from
Teresa,
joining the
come on.
community prayer?
Jesus is inviting us to pray.
I'm sorry. I am not healthy enough to stand and participate in prayer.
Her sickness became an excuse to stop her prayer completely. For years, she hardly prayed at all under the guise of humility. But God sees the heart and never ceases to lose any occasion to make Him known and loved.
Along the way, she experienced a vision of the sorely wounded Christ that changed her life forever. Later, she would say, "Prayer is an act of love. Words are not needed. Even if sickness distracts us from thoughts, all that is needed is the will to love."
Yet her experience gives us wonderful descriptions of mental prayer. For mental prayer, in my opinion, is nothing else than an intimate sharing between friends. It means taking time frequently to be alone with Him, who we know loves us. The important thing is not to think much, but to love much, and so do that which best stirs you to love. Love is not great delight, but desire to please God in everything.
During Lent in the year 1554, when she was 39 years of age and had been a religious for 19, she wept before a wounded Christ, asking for the strength not to offend Him. From that moment on, her mental prayer was accompanied by visions, mystical ecstasies, and supernatural favors, although they always alternated with periods of spiritual drought.
From that moment on, she had a desire to live her religious life with all its vigor and perfection. Saint Teresa led the Carmelite reform, which restored and emphasized the austerity and contemplative character of primitive Carmelite life.
Teresa also found her first convent in 1562, the monastery of St. Joseph in Avila, where she moved to in 1563.
4 years later,
I believe you know why I called you here,
I'm
Sister
sorry.
Teresa.
I don't think I am following.
Do you remember the request you made to establish more Carmelite convents?
I am saying this with all due respect. Are you?
Well, yes. I am approving that request.
Shortly thereafter, Sister Teresa began making long journeys throughout Spain, reforming old convents and founding new ones. She founded 16 new convents during her 20 years of reform activity.
during one of her journeys, Saint Teresa met Saint John of the Cross, who became her spiritual advisor.
Your wise words have taught me a lot.
Well, I am glad I can be of help.
Soon after, he joined her in her reforming efforts and paralleled her work with the Carmelite nuns among the Carmelite monks.
Saint Teresa had great years ahead of her, but fell ill in one of her journeys from Burgos to Alba de Tormes.
Towards the end of her life, she exclaimed, "O my Lord, how true it is that whoever works for you is paid in troubles. And what a precious price to those who love you if you understand its value." She died on October 4, 1582. She was beatified on April 26, 1614 by Pope Paul V and canonized on March 11, 1622 by Pope Gregory XV.
Saint Teresa did not live a perfect life. However, this all changed when she developed a meaningful relationship with Jesus and our Blessed Mother through fervent prayer. She says,
Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. All things are passing away. God never changes. Patience obtains all things. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices.
That is why Don Bosco chose Saint Teresa of Avila to be one of the patron saints of the Institute of the Daughters of Mary Help of Christians. He wanted his daughters to be contemplated in action.
Being educated in the Salesian School of the Daughters of Mary Help of Christians, we are encouraged to live in constant awareness of the presence of God. Strengthen our prayer life, knowing that God alone suffices and that nothing is lacking to one who truly possesses Him.
There's a story of unfailing love that echoes in my heart. There's a promise that you're always here. Your word will light my path. We shall not fear the days to come. You are with us to the end, and everything is possible through God who gives us strength. You make everything brand new, 'cause you're the God of miracles, and everything is possible through God who gives us strength. Whether I am rich or I am poor, I will give you thanks. I will lift my voice to sing your praise in every circumstance. Whether found in sickness or in health, I have learned to be content. 'Cause everything is possible through God who gives us strength. You make everything brand new, 'cause you're the God of miracles, and everything is possible through God who gives us strength. For whosoever shall believe, Jesus made a way. His blood poured out on Calvary has broken every chain. You made